Please bear with me. I am in the wrong seat. I don't usually sit on this end. I'm the one who's being asked questions most of the time. And it's a rather odd kind of space to be in. But here are two people that I have been very curious about. And when Samira called me up to say that this is what she wanted me to do, I was very happy to agree, essentially because it was Puja and Sheena. Puja I met in maybe 2010, we can't remember. But we were doing a play together, all about my mother. And I had seen her before that in Hamlet, the Clown Prince. And I had been quite astounded by the sort of performer she was. I come from a very different generation and also very different taste in performance. But Pooja's and several other actors of her generation have shaken me up a great deal, and have made me question a lot of what I do and what I have felt strongly about and believed in. So thank you for doing stuff that makes all of us think. And Sheena, I did not know until I heard of you in Ila. She directed Ila, and that's the first time I even found out about you. And so I came to know her first as a director and then later as an actor. Again, she made me sit up and take notice of a completely different way of approaching theatre and acting. And that's what I'd like to talk about and pick their brains about today and hear from them what their journey has been like. I think it is significantly different from the kind of journeys we made. And that's why I'm really, really curious. So I'd like you to show them something from Ila,
yes,
Sheena.
Absolutely.
Sheena Khalid and Puja Sarup. I don't think I need to introduce anyone.
Do you want to maybe give a little context of what we're going to watch?
Yeah.
So this is our first baby, Ila. Sheena and I started Patchworks Ensemble in 2014. And there's a 2-page story that we found in Devdutt Patnaik's The Pregnant King. So the story we took is not about the pregnant king, it's about this king called Ila who is full mard and, bivi bache and kingdom, everything, and walks into a forest where Shiv and Parvati are making love, and when they do that, Shiv puts a spell on the forest that anything male that enters the forest becomes female. So Ila, the king, the mard, became a woman, and then he ran to Shiv and Parvati, said, nahi, yaar, ye nahi chalega, I have biwi, bache responsibilities, and like that's one thing we have, no? There's always a tod, there's always like tweak.
A way out.
A way out, there are loopholes everywhere. So they say, okay, we can't take this back, we'll tweak it. So on full moon nights, he's full mard, and dhire dhire till new moon arrives, Ila becomes a woman, and this cycle starts. So that's the myth in the story, and what Sheena and I got excited about was that in our local trains, how many people travel by the local train here?
Lots.
Oh, great. So, there's that ladies compartment in the middle that at 11 p.m. becomes general, and then at 7 a.m. or 5:30 a.m. in some trains is Suryan Sati. So we felt like there's this gender cycle happening in our trains as well, where at 11 p.m., if you're in that compartment, the way the men come charging like, and suddenly your mardangi also wakes up like, okay, theek hai. Yeah, and so we found something, we didn't know why, we didn't know how, but there was something attractive about this train life that we have and this myth. So we've merged these two tracks. So what we'll see is, when Ila goes into the forest, the spell works, he becomes a woman, and then what happens? This is his interaction with Shiv and Parvati.
Yeah?
Yeah.
महादेव, ये देखो क्या हो गया मेरे साथ। किसने मेरी मर्दानगी ले ली?
क्यों आया था? इस जंगल में फंस गया ना, जादू मंत्र में। कि तूने इनकी सेक्स नहीं बोल सकती तो क्या समूह भी नहीं बोल सकती क्या? तू समाधि बोल। कि तूने इनकी समाधि भंग और पाया किए का दंड।
अरे क्या दंड बोल रहे, मुझे कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा। अरे मैं तो जंगल में तो शिकार करने आया था। क्या?
जो भी पुरुष जीव जंतु इस जंगल में प्रवेश करता है वो स्त्री के रूप में परिवर्तित हो जाता है? क्या मतलब इस जंगल में घुसते ही पुल्लिंग स्त्रीलिंग बन जाता है। क्या जेंट्स इनटू लेडीज।
अरे क्या बोल रहे, मुझे कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा।
क्या देखा तूने? हिरन?
नहीं हिरनी।
क्या देखा तूने? शेर?
नहीं शेरनी।
हाँ, क्या देखा तूने? मोर?
अरे नहीं भी मोरनी।
अब तो क्या है? राजा?
नहीं
If we want to talk, we better not get too involved there. So, you often work with devised plays, right? You make your own stuff as you go along. Why? How did you start off thus? And why?
I think when it started with Ela, so for us, it's not that we make a conscious effort to only work with devised theatre. But I think a lot of it lies in our training. Both Pooja and I have had very similar training. She trained in a school in Italy and myself in the UK, which is based on Lecoq training. And every week we had to do this, where every Friday, ours was Friday, what was yours?
Friday barbecue.
Yeah, every Friday we had to devise a piece. So I think that, and a lot of our training, a lot of the pedagogy was rooted in this idea of being the quote-unquote actor-creator. And so then it was just a very logical step when we left drama school and we met each other and decided to start this company. The story was something that appealed to us greatly, so it just became something that we wanted to work on and create on the floor with the actors as well.
Right. And having done that, has it been like tasting blood so that you don't really feel like going back to working with a fixed text?
I think that another reason, at least for me, why we end up doing so much devised work is I don't read much. So I haven't read too many scripts, so a lot of the times it's like, the story is exciting, or also we get excited by images or concepts or ideas, you know, and that's good enough for us to start making something. We don't necessarily need to wait for that spiral-bound script and a director who will come and say, "Aise bolo, yahan ro, ye karo, wo karo."
Mm-hmm. That's extremely interesting because I come from exactly the opposite tradition, where we did, and that's something that held us all back for a lot of time, thinking that there are no scripts around. There isn't enough being written, particularly in the Indian languages. And if we wanted to do our own language work, it was either an adaptation or a translation, which just didn't feel right in many cases. So it's terrific. But does that mean that you have trouble when you're working with a fixed text? Have you ever worked with a written text, and do you find that that gets in the way of your wanting to do something?
Actually, this is interesting that you bring this up, because just the other day, both of us were talking about our need to bring the kind of training that we have and the kind of processes that we have to a script. So I think the next big project that we do want to work on is something with a script. We did attempt it once when we were directing a play together at the drama school, and we had a script which we then got translated. But like you said, the translation just didn't cut it for us. So we found ourselves back again in square one, where we had all of the students of the drama school devising again, creating with this work. And there the script just acted as a very loose framework, much like the short story of Ela did. But I think for us, both of us are very keen at this point now with the company to go into working with the script.
It's interesting because even as actors, I think both push you in different ways. Working with a script really means that you're going into someone else's mind and trying to make that person's reality yours. And it can often be a rather difficult and a somewhat off-putting exercise. But I find that it has been extremely valuable for me because I engage with ideas that I'm not able to articulate myself. There are people who are putting things in ways that are so beautiful. And I do feel very strongly that beauty is a very strong function of the arts. Right. What do you feel about that? Because there's always an aesthetic about your production. But are you consciously moving towards any kind of aesthetic? Does that operate, design, does that matter to you while you're putting things together?
It does.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, a lot of it comes from, I think fundamentally the both of us get excited by the power of, how do I say this? The imagination that can be sparked in the audience. That for us is very exciting. So that that's why if you see with Ela, okay, yes, a lot of it did have to do with the fact that we had no money when we started this, zero place to rehearse. So we were like, what do we do for set? We can't afford anything. Okay, let's get these Chinese lanterns, string them up. They look like the phases of the moon. Cool. But also with Ela, because the way the story is, we're constantly moving from train to forest, forest to palace, palace to platform. So we needed to work in a way that the set or the surrounding wasn't something that just imposed one singular image. And I think that for us is something that has been very, Lecoq talks about this in one of his books, the idea of the transparent body. And the actor having a transparent body, which is everything around them, from the environment to the text to the emotion, everything, the weather, colors, everything affects the actor's body. And that body also has as much of a story to say than just the words that come out.
Sure. And that sort of segues in beautifully with the idea of the Natya Shastra. The actor as the communicator of everything that is needed to be communicated.
All the worlds that need to be.
All the worlds that need to be, to go across to the audience. And the fluidity of space that makes it possible. That is so much part of our tradition. What is your connection with Indian artistic traditions? Do you have one growing up from childhood? Did you see a lot of plays, for example, and what kinds of plays?
No.
Do people see plays? Yeah? Well, now, grown-ups, yes. But as kids, do you remember seeing plays? Yeah, you do? What about guys from my generation? Does anyone remember going to see plays? In school, did you do plays? Yes? Did that put you off theatre forever? I think school theatre activity has done more damage to theatre in India than anything else. Teachers who made you stand and perform like marionettes, even worse, badly acted, badly created marionettes. So I really feel that that is one of the things that is a huge paucity when you begin to imagine. Did you find that something that held you back, or was it something that gave you great freedom? The fact that you weren't carrying baggage.
I think there's always baggage. Like, then if not this one, then some other Boria Bistar will be on you, you know, like depending on where you've grown up, what you've seen, and just as individuals, the kind of doubts we have and all that. So I feel, you know, you go through that, you bash through it, you figure out this is what you love doing, so you do it. But I want to come back to something you brought up earlier, which is about when you're working on something that somebody else has written, and these are maybe concepts and ideas that you're not comfortable with and grappling with those. And even in the device process, we still have that. Like for example, in the Gentleman's Club, you know, it's a show about drag kings. And Like there's one character I play who's Vicky Lalwani, who's a real estate agent come stand-up comedian and a complete asshole. And it's so much fun playing that character, you know, because, and what helps me there, it's not necessarily the written script at that point in the process of devising, it's the mask that we found through the costume, through the voice, through the nakli dadi and all that, you know. So I feel the end is still the same, like whether it's devised or whether it's working with a written script, it's just a different route. You know, here we have the discovery happening on the floor, and yes, a lot of it has to do with who I am as as a person.
Yes,
of course.
Does that's the next thing I was going to come to. Does this kind of theatre work pose special challenges to actors? Do you need a special kind of actor, or can anyone? Can I be part of an experience like this? Somebody who's coming from such a different training and tradition.
With our rehearsals and our devising process for the shows that we've had so far, we've also had a quote-unquote incubation period where, again, coming back to our training, there's a lot of shared language that we have that the rest of the ensemble might not have. So it's just kind of getting people on the same page and creating an environment and getting people used to the idea of playing and improvisation, which I think with anybody who has, as long as you're excited about it, as long as there's something in the story that excites you, that draws you on it, of course you can do it, because we are all creators. That's another thing that we do believe, from whether it's the workshop modules that we do or the shows that we do, we are creators. So we want the creativity to flow from that side of the room as well, not just us as directors. And then we guide and we you know, push it, facilitate.
That, of course, in an ideal world is what everyone tries to do, right? Anyone who's trying to work with a bunch of other actors needs to bring them all onto the same page.
Yeah.
And that process, if it is smooth, and it's never smooth, sorry, but if it's eventually, if it pulls together, then it has value. But when it doesn't pull together, then you are in very, very serious trouble.
Then it's very difficult.
Yeah.
And also, sorry, coming back to what you were saying about the Indian forms, I personally had no training.
No training, not necessarily, but
exposure.
exposure.
Even exposure, very, very little. But that's what I think is also a very exciting time that we are in, is that slowly everything is merging. So I think that we are in a position where we can collaborate with people who do have a classical dance background, or do have, you know, a background in music, or Indian classical music, or any kind of thing. And I think a lot, and devised theatre as a form allows for that, for other art forms to come in to create something.
Do actors find it hard to get into the process of letting your inhibitions and things that stop you from being what you want to be? Do you find that the actors you work with, because you work with a lot of younger people, do you find that is a difficult process, or it happens smoothly, easily?
It's not smooth.
It's not easy.
No.
No, it's hard. It is hard. It is hard. And a devising process is a terribly frustrating process because you're hitting walls all the time. But I think it's with ELA, because we worked so, we did have a lot of time to improv and try and run exercises, and because we were also fresh out of drama school, so we were also so keen and so eager and earnest that we used to go through our notes, let's try this, let's try that, that we were in a position to get a lot of actors. I mean, a lot of them did work pretty nuts anyway and up for it. No?
Yeah, but there are some who do struggle with improv, who would rather have somebody tell them what to do, how,
Absolutely.
where, when.
Yeah.
I mean, 99.99% of the actors I know fall into that category. Me included, I'm afraid. Yes, yes. Because improvisation, for some reason, was such a traumatic experience, so badly guided and so messy while we were growing up and in drama school. That's another question I wanted to ask. How much did you have to unlearn from your time in drama school? I spent all my life unlearning the rubbish I'd picked up.
I'm pretty happy with my course.
I'm impressed.
I'm pretty happy with my
really-
school.
Yeah.
like,
How terrific is that?
yeah.
And I think that again, because again, it's not been that long. We both finished in 2014. So I think now in 2000 and, what year are we in? 19. I feel like a lot of the lessons from drama school that we had, which when you were grappling with them in school, it was like, what is this? What are these people talking about? They make sense now.
Exact opposite experience for me. The kind of exercises and experiences I had in drama school, at that time I thought, oh yeah, maybe there is something that will lead me somewhere with this one. And then I spent all my time afterwards saying, hell, wow, what a load of rubbish that was. And how long it took me to get out of that route. Yeah. Influences. You know, one doesn't take, I grew up watching Gujarati theatre. I can't tell you what a setback that is. Unfortunately, I mean, I let it become one. I don't know why. I should have fought it a little more maybe as a kid. But it just took me so long to get out of that kind of fake acceptance of fake behavior, which Hindi film and more or less all the drama I saw as a kid did for me. You guys are probably lucky that you are growing up at a time when a certain amount of the fakeness has already been shown up as fake. You know, my mom was doing it, for God's sake. How could I mistrust that? At least she was right, you know.
Yeah.
Everyone else might be wrong, but Ma was right at least. But she was doing bad Gujarati theatre acting for the most part. For the most part.
But this fakeness also, I think that a lot of it still, you know, as a director, you sit and you watch and you're like, no, that doesn't ring true. But I think, and this maybe is a handicap of I feel it from our training, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, that you can identify it in terms of, that doesn't ring true, but then how to correct it. How do you then, it's like, no, you're not playing this scene right, the tone, the rhythm is off. But then what is the right rhythm? For me, I can't articulate it, I need to see it. Okay, no, you have to try it like this. Okay, try it like this, and try it like this.
Absolutely.
And then something works. But I think that the kind of training that we had, on some level, we have a little bit of a handicap in the language again, of no, do this. As opposed to...
You don't have the definitive answer.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that makes you feel nervous when you're in the process of directing? I mean, I know that actors often look up to directors as, okay, now tell me what to do. I don't have a clue. You're my only hope. Is that what you're talking about?
I don't think have you experienced it with our...
I think also, like, Sheena and I are different kinds of directors. Like, I know fundamentally my nus is that of a harami actor, you know, trying to disguise, I direct also. But, and so when I'm directing, I'm actually thinking like an actor. Like, and if I hit the floor and I play, then I feel it, then I get a sense of it. And for Sheena, it's different. Like, Sheena can be outside and get a sense of the rhythm and, you know, so, and that's been great for us also, because as a company now we know that, oh, this is what I want to push and this is what I want to push, you know. So,
What do you do with disagreement?
where? With who?
Between us, yeah.
I can't believe that she doesn't know about disagreement. Everything, everywhere, actors, amongst you, with actors, everywhere.
Generally.
Because, I mean, disagreement is such an important part of any process, the creative process in particular.
You have to be able to, I think that whenever there's a disagreement, wherever there's something that doesn't sit right for her, but is working for me, or doesn't sit right for me, working for her, I think we express it immediately. You have to talk about it. And I think there's also this, it's not only between us, but between us and our actors as well. Because actors get very frustrated. Right?
That's what I wanted to know.
Like I said, I'm saying, no, that doesn't work. Nah, no, try it like this. No, that doesn't work. But they're like, oh my God, tell us what. Then it does work, right? But I think it's this ethos of, when we're in the rehearsal room, let's fight, let's do whatever we need to, but the moment we step out, that's that.
Yeah. And it's about the work.
It's about the work.
No, but within that work format, if there's disagreement on how you handle something, on the way your story is going, on what you're trying to get across or how a scene is being performed. Have you had issues of that sort? Where there was, you had to sort of say, I don't agree, but we agree to disagree. Or you managed to resolve and find ways to...
I think the first step is to try and resolve it, which could mean that, okay, what do you propose? And try that out. And then maybe it's accepted, maybe it's a mix of what we already had and a mix of this, or like a, no, doesn't work. And end of the day, we are the directors, you know, so, yeah.
I think also for Puja and I as well, it's sometimes you just have to take a step back and realize that, and be aware of, okay, do we have time enough in this rehearsal process to actually get into it like this? Maybe we won't, cool, let's step back. You know, we need to keep it going forward as well. So I think, yeah, we just have to, it changes and it's so, it's constantly, but I think communication amongst all parties is just key.
Again, another key difference from when I was growing up and trying to become an actor. There was so much banding together. There was so much my group versus your group, my actor versus your actor. I really think we were very, very silly. And a lot of grown-up people around us were very, very silly. And all this would go on a lot. And I find that the collaborations that I see with amongst all of you, actors that work everywhere, what a wonderful way to grow up as an actor. To work with a variety of people. Frankly, that was the only thing that made sense out of my experience at the National School of Drama. The fact that we did 4 productions every year with a variety of directors. 4 different directors every year. So at the end of 3 years, you had done 12 productions. Whether you had had a single decent acting lesson eventually didn't matter. Because what you learned in those 12 productions is what stood you all your life, frankly. So, yeah. And that... Can I throw a question? Sure.
Sorry, I'll just use this. Yeah. So it was a time, if I understand correctly, when actually there was in theatre in India, there was a search for modern playwriting voice. What is the Indian playwriting voice in some sense,
Absolutely.
but the Indian urban modern voice. And in some sense, those ideas, and I mean, sometimes I wonder if those fights just didn't come out of the fact that you were...
In fact, the good bits came out of the fact that there was such a variety of writers and directors working together simultaneously. Whether it was Lagu working with G.P. Deshpande, or it was Dubey working with Girish Karnad, or any of the others, Achyut Vaze, up until then. And the kind of prodding and pushing that playwrights and directors did for each other, that was the good part. What really affected this kind of, over-reliance on the personality in the theatre was still, I think, a leftover of the old actor-manager. We hadn't yet gotten out of that. I'm talking about the Gujarati theatre. You had Praveen Joshi. You had Kanti Madia, all actor-managers. Guys, my mother, an actor-manager. They wanted to do plays. They needed to hold a group together. They put things up. If they found a director, well and good. Otherwise, they just put it together, which is the way in which theatre has been done from centuries. The actor put the company together. So I think there was the remnant of that probably.
Because your generation is also the first generation that moves wholeheartedly into director's theatre, right, in a sense?
In a sense,
Yeah.
yes.
Because the
Where the disconnect between the actor and the director became very, very distinct.
And so I have a flip question for you then. One is your educational background that brings you into devised theatre work, but do you, I mean, what I know of their generation's work is that there were actually a lot of exciting writing happening and people wanted to try out those ideas. So what do you feel about your playwriting context? I mean, it's part of, how do you speak to that? What's happening today in theatre? Is there exciting playwriting? Do you also feel that part of it is a paucity, or are people trying things out, or what is the reality?
I to don't read here.
No, that's an easy answer. Huh? Hello. You may not read, but you see
still
stuff,
know.
no?
You still know what's happening in your
Yeah,
brain.
hello. Huh.
Yeah, I do think there's a paucity of writers.
That's also an easy answer. Ding.
But I don't know, for me it's also, like earlier we were talking, I'm excited about the fact that drag kings exist and we don't have them in Bombay and nobody's written about it. You know, I mean, it's also like what I'm searching for in terms of themes and yeah, just themes that are making me curious. Maybe like is not what's making the writers curious. You know, and for us, and that's fundamental in devising work. You have to work with something that excites you. That is fundamental. You cannot take up something saying, "Arey, commission ho raha hai piece, itne paise aa rahe hain, and chalo." They want it written on so and so. You know, it has to be something that's so connected to your gut. There's something that's making you really curious about it, or like there's a need. You know, so. I think that's fundamental for devising and works
Connected to that, would you say, what was your relationship with Shammi Kapoor? Shammi Kapoor is a very major part of Gentleman's Club tape, which they also do. Can we see something?
I don't have a video. I just have pictures. That's Puja as Shammi Kapoor. And
Yes.
I don't know how.
That's Sheena.
That's not me playing Shammi Kapoor. It's me playing a drag king whose persona is inspired by Shammi
Kapoor. Here, this is the collection of all the drag kings. Do we have any more of Shammi? There we go. That's Shammi again.
So did you have a relationship with Shammi before you started work on this one?
No. No. Actually, it was a conversation with Vikram Fukan, who's also part of the devising team for Gentleman's Club. And I'd met him for something completely random. We were sitting in some cafe and we started brainstorming about what we could do together. And he had written a drag queen piece. And he said, "Oh, we can do a drag king piece with you. And your eyes look like Shammi's." And, you know, he made the connection. He's like, "You look like Shammi." And so it's not like I grew up in front of the mirror dancing like, I look like Shammi ke dance. It's not that. It's after he said this and I was like, oh, okay. And I went home that evening and I watched Shammi's videos and what excited me then was like the jaan that man has. Like, no matter, and now, like, no matter what mood I'm in, if I'm feeling low, I just watch Shammi and I'm happy, you know. So that quality is what then got me excited about Shammi, and then like reading up more about him, and also then the play is not about him.
Correct.
You know, he's also like a tool for something bigger. It's about
yeah, he's just a stepping stone. I mean, you use him to go somewhere else. Yeah. And as an actor, how much imitation and how much creation in the Shammi performance?
I'm really shocked when people come to me after the show and they're like, you know, it was exactly like Shammi, like, you know, that move, and I was like, okay, great, thanks. But honestly, like, it's not that I have watched all his movies and videos. I mean, last night I was watching Kashmir Ki Kali because it was on TV, you know, but it's not like, I didn't make it study for me. And it's not about imitating him, it's about this idea of the jaan and the that he has, you know, and how does one tap into that, and how do I find that in this body, in this form, you know? So it's not, I don't think it's about imitation, I think it's about
inspiration.
Wah. Yeah.
Do you want to do a Shatrugna Sinha?
No.
Ah, thank God.
Because my husband's name is Khamosh and that's the one joke we hear all the time, like, aapke parents Shatrugna Sinha ke fan the kya?
Oh God, yes, I forgot that connection.
Yeah.
Ouch. So, little tricky question, how do you guys survive doing the kind of work you want to do?
Do we even survive? No, I'm
Yeah,
joking.
you're sitting here, you look okay.
No.
Nice jutta.
I think, again, with doing theatre, it is an exciting time. I'm also quite optimistic that it'll only get better. from the first year that we did ELA, we were invited to quite a few theatre festivals. And those theatre festivals, just the performance fee of those shows kept us running the company. And then with Gentlemen's Club being the kind of show that it is, it's something that can be performed anywhere and everywhere. Again, we've done we've done corporate gigs, we've just the number. So Gentlemen's Club is kind of like a cabaret show, and it's a play within a play. And there are a few numbers in the show. We've performed just those few numbers for events and gotten paid, in our opinion, obscene amounts of money to do
More
that.
power to you, more power.
So the company does run itself. But for us individually, Puja also is working on many other projects. I'm also working on many other projects. I think that's also what's great about having somebody else, is that at some point of time, I can tell Puja, listen, I'm going to be part of this residency project for 2 months. It's all on you. And she handles it, knowing fully well that I will also step in and do that when the time comes.
And that's also a conscious decision. We don't want to be stuck.
Absolutely.
Like, this is what we do, and we know that it's beneficial for us as individuals and the company that we do go out and work with other people and bring that in.
But do you look at film as a sort of a related kind of experience? Do you think of film as a way that can support what you're doing? For example, you act in a lot of films, etc. Would you, again, going back to my generation, there was a time when a lot of us who were known in films as well as in the theatre managed to pull in a certain number of people in the audience. That made it possible for us just to do shows. I mean, we have done shows for years to 5 and 7 people in the audience. And therefore, that need to expand came organically and naturally. When Ratna Pathak did a play for Avishkar, suddenly a whole variety of people who never came to see Avishkar, Avishkar's plays in Chabildas, suddenly started coming. So this is what I meant, that the films for our generation helped us to continue doing what we were doing, and kind of we fed off that energy also. Do you see that as a possibility for you, or do you have another kind of relationship with film? Would you like to make films, or?
For me, I haven't done any film work, and for me, as a medium, as a performer, it's not something that excites me at all. I'm not good at it. I'm just not good. I think, as a performer, I've never really had an interest to be in front of the camera. Making films, on the other hand, I don't know if I would ever do it, if I ever could do it, but I think that could be something very exciting. I think it is an incredible medium. A medium that I know nothing about, but I think it's a fantastic medium.
I haven't done too many films, but the few that I have picked because either the director was exciting, like I was like, oh wow, I want to work with this guy. And fortunately, I think this is my guardian angels working overtime, and they've come at the right time, so I could pay for my shadi, my part of the kharcha. So again, like, none of us look at theatre as a stepping stone to get into films. We're very clear about that. It's not. Like, this is what we love, and this
So what is it exactly? Can you pinpoint what is it? The live energy? What is it? Because people who want to do theatre just want to do theatre. Doesn't seem to make a great deal of sense to anyone but yourself. You just, like Dubey कहता था, मुझे खुजली है, मुझे करना है. So तुम्हारी खुजली है? I mean, what kind of खुजली is it?
We call it the keeda.
Keeda, same thing.
I think there's just something about it that that there's a magic that no other medium can even come close to, in terms of you are seeing something that is really not there. and you're there. There's no, when we're doing Gentlemen's Club, for example, there is no cabaret, there is no club, there is no green room. Those things don't exist. But yet, when you're there as an audience member, it's all playing out in front of you. And there's something about that, about like creating worlds where otherwise nothing actually exists. Which for me is something that's very exciting. And I think also that
very nicely put.
I think that there's
because it is something so ephemeral. Film, everything has substance. It has
It's there.
something concrete. Whereas theatre is this little thing which just happens. It's there for that moment while it's there, and then it's gone. It's in your memory. It's my memory. That's all that's there.
And it's also about, like for me, what's exciting is that like in theatre, you're charging the space. You know, like I'm not excited to see like you can make out when actors are so self-obsessed with like, meri acting, meko dekh, and you see it in their performance, as opposed to when the whole crew comes together and something moves in the space, like something happens not in individual actors' bodies, but it's something that they do, and the effect of that is here, which is, it's addictive, I guess.
also we're at a time when we're just so overloaded with things on our screens, right? Be it film, be it television, and there's really good stuff also out there, yes? And we have such easy access to it. I think that also pushes us as theatre directors to explore our craft more. Because now a play, you enter and you sit in the audience and you see a play with a sofa and a carpet and a lamp, and it's like, it's not going to cut it, because that realism that film is doing so beautifully. Don't even try. It's never going to happen. Our strengths lie in something else, and I think a lot of theatre makers now
are beginning to understand that.
In this country are really
Yes.
going there.
Yes, finally, and how wonderful that is. Absolutely. So, anyone else wants to ask questions? Please think of them. Yes, yes. Just hang on, I've got one more to do. Audiences. What is your relationship with your audiences? You just told me that you've been performing all over the place. I think you performed in Raebareli, in that little black box theatre in
not
Bareilly?
yet.
Not
No,
yet.
not yet.
But you went to Bikaner, did you?
Not yet.
Bhopal? अरे तो बड़ी अफवाहें फैली हैं तुम्हारे बारे में यार.
Who said all of this?
Yeah, man. But that's what I find really exciting, that there are a whole variety of little theatre festivals happening all over the country.
It's incredible.
They are not waiting for somebody to build a fancy theatre.
Yeah.
They are not waiting for government grant and everything. They do get government grant. The smart ones manage to wheel, you get stuff going. But there's one happening in Bikaner, there's one happening in Raebareli, there's one in Bhopal, and these are local people. They're not just waiting for stars from Bombay and Bangalore and Chennai and all to come and perform. They are just doing it themselves. And that is really quite extraordinary.
Yeah, it is.
So have you performed at any of these places? You just said Ela. Did you take her around anywhere?
Ela, yes, even Gentlemen's Club. We've been to Guwahati, we've been to the theatre festival in Lucknow, Chennai, Pondicherry, Bangalore, Delhi, of course, Calcutta.
So what kind of audience reactions do you get, and how do they compare with Mumbai, and what are you getting out of the audience in these different places?
Gentlemen's Club is if you don't have the audience with you in that show dies.
Yes, I can imagine.
Because it just really
be so-
exists on how there is no, there's a fourth wall up, we'll just do the show and continue. That just doesn't happen with Gentlemen's Club. And the show begins with Puja, who goes, she's really like sent to the guillotine in that show. It begins with her going on stage and starting her Shammi Kapoor dance. And within 10 seconds, we know, because we're all huddled right there near the wings, everybody, half makeup or whatever. What's happening? Okay, fine. Or like, oh shit, what's happening? Like, okay, how are we going to push it? How do we have to do the energy? But we've had some, so we're always, because it's also about gender, because it's about drag kings, there's a lot of bad language, it's fairly irreverent. You don't know how audiences are going to react. But I remember our show in Guwahati so clearly. It was 700 odd people in the audience, and it was a crackling show. It was just incredible, the kind of energy that we have from the audience. And these are people, I mean, all age groups, across the board, anybody, because the festival also does a really good job of drumming up
curating from everywhere.
Of audiences
And a variety of things.
a variety of things, yeah. So that was a really exciting show, and
Cut to
It's wonderful
Calcutta.
Oh
how
my God.
language doesn't also get
That
in
was
the
a
way
very bad
sometimes. When the energies are flowing, language really becomes of no consequence. I remember doing shows in where was that? Thrissur. Majority of the audience is Malayali speaking.
Yeah.
And Hindi में नाटक हो रहा है और मजे से सुन रहे हैं, देख रहे हैं लोग. Quite
I saw a
extraordinary.
Spanish play at that same theatre festival. Audience was just gripped,
Yeah.
hooked.
Yeah.
And I think that theatre festival is also incredible. They just have the way they've nurtured and built their
Yes.
audiences. It's really incredible.
Yes. Okay, I'm all done. You want to say anything about yourselves? Fly by night. I believe you did that last year. So why no? Last to last year.
Last to last year.
Last
really?
to last.
Yeah,
So how come you have not been doing too many shows?
We've so Fly By Night is based on a Japanese phenomenon called johatsu, where people are disappearing voluntarily, like they just bounce. You know, so this is your life, and cut to next day you've gone. Nobody can find you, and it's happening a lot. So that's why they have a name for it, johatsu. And Sheena had read this article about this, and we got excited, and then we got this book which is about somebody who's done research on this. We created something, again, that was like a device, half written, half device thing, and we did a couple of shows, but we felt like there's another door we need to open for this theme. You know, we felt like we need some time off, first of all, because like if your piece of creation is giving you heart attacks and post-traumatic post-traumatic stress disorder, like, and you wake up sweating and stuff, then that's a sign to just back off. So that's what we're doing.
I guess this is a question that I then have for you, because this is what happened with Fly By Night. We got our fingers burnt. We decided to go, we had these dates, and we said, no, yes, we will put up a new show on these dates. We didn't have enough time. We opened it beforehand, and we've decided to work more on it. But do you feel that that when you start off working on a new show, because I know for you all also process is very important.
Yeah.
So how about, has it ever been that you felt that the time limit was just, I mean, we always feel like, oh yeah, it's not ready, if only we had some more time. But with Fly By Night, we really felt that we just did not do enough. We just didn't give ourselves enough time.
Correct.
And in terms of devising and stuff, but is that something that, or have you reached a place where you consciously make a decision on, we will not open unless we have so much time beforehand?
As it happens, it works like that. We often do plays centered around everyone else's work schedules. Everyone has to work at other things in order to support themselves. So rehearsal time is always 3 hours a day or something like that. So that's one of the reasons why we just take a long time. Apart from that, we just like rehearsing a hell of a lot. So we rehearse as much as we can, and then finally somebody says, "यार एक date मिली है, चलो करते हैं नाटक, नहीं तो कभी नहीं होगा ये." So then we get it together. It is becoming a little easier. We have a setup now. We have an extremely efficient manager in Jairaj Patil. So all those details get looked after, which I'm sure you guys are struggling with big time, right? So that is, having said that, I don't think a play is ever ready. The first show is just the beginning of the process of making a play ready. We have lived with plays for 20 years, 30 years. In the case of Godot, for 40 years. 79 was the first time we did Godot. 94 was the first time we did Dear Liar. 2001 was the first time we did Ismat Appa. And we have been doing the same play consistently.
And every time you approach it, something changes.
Something
something's
changes, new things happen, new discoveries, whole new ways of doing it. Dear Liar changed almost entirely from our point of view. The production stayed the same. The sets, the costumes, the moves, everything stayed the same. But we had changed entirely as people. So the play became something else. So that's what I found most exciting about what you guys are doing, because you are also constantly changing. You don't ever say, okay, this is all neatly packed, this is done, mail it off. Now the production is done.
Yeah.
That's, to me, that's one of the pleasures of theatre.
Yeah.
That you can keep
you have
reinventing.
that, yeah.
And you keep working on it. Usko मांझते जाओ, पता नहीं क्या चमक निकलेगी. Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Sudhir. I have a question to Ratna.
Oh.
Yeah, basically you have worked in films as well as theatre. So what is the difference you feel in the mind space when you are there on both these mediums?
In theatre, we get good lines to speak and read and think about. In film, we get pretty much the opposite. In a single word, I mean, in a single sentence, that's a real problem. It's the material we are working with. The stuff that one is engaging with. On television, though, it's mind-numbing. I have done a lot of television, but fortunately for me, I did comedy. And that's what saved me. I'm convinced that comedy is what kept me sane. But the work of the actor is almost identical in both. Some of the craft may vary, but the work of the actor, the creation of the performance, I think is more or less the same. What would you say?
Yeah, I feel it's a difference of degree. But yeah, the core, the fundamental work of the actor is, yeah.
Do you find it easy to transfer onto film?
No.
You find that difficult?
I feel like when there's the camera, my instinct is to duck and hide. Like I'm not one of those actors who's like, you know, the clever ones. The clever ones who know like, ek haath aise kar lo, one jhatka you do here, and you know, then you're captured and people notice you. My thing is just to hide behind the person standing in front of me. So, yeah, I find it difficult. Yeah. And I hate looking at myself on the screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question for Mr. Shah. Could you just use, could you use the mic so you can, and then Meher up.
So I recently saw a production of The Truth, and this was my first bedroom farce experience, and I thoroughly enjoyed the way the actors used text, because even in my generation, we are so used to actors going chuck, like, you know, physically moving, that for me to just sit and hear an actor talk was refreshing. But I want to ask you about the use of transitions and technology to go from one scene to another, because I vividly remember that there's a scene from the bedroom to another space, and the lights go off, and you have the people carrying the bed, and there's a sound of a motorcycle. I understand the job of an audience to suspend their disbelief and assume that the character is using that car to travel, but as a theatre company, how do you and your company try to reinvent the idea of technology and transitions? Because as an audience, when we are also exposed to so much, how do you still create that balance?
Right, that's a very good question, and one that has exercised me quite a bit. Well, technology has its value, and it can be used very effectively, very intelligently, except that I don't think that that is the strong point in the theatre. The human presence, the human effort, and the reality of the space in which you are is the key defining feature of the theatre. Exactly what Sheena said a little while ago, that is what is really exciting. That which is happening between us at this moment in time, in this space. You are not hiding from it, I'm not hiding from it. This is where we are. It's an empty space. I can make a forest out of it. I can make a palace out of it. You are exercising your mind as a member of the audience to create that thing along with me, the performer. That is the key strength of theatre. I therefore find the use of technology merely as background or as accentuation and embellishment I find that very painful and a cheap trick. And simply, anyone who comes into the theatre comes in knowing fully well that I am in the theatre. I look up and I see a light. There is a light saying exit. There is my friend sitting next to me. I'm not in this enchanted forest. I am here. My mind can go anywhere. So that lovely dichotomy between mind and body that you manage to so seamlessly put together in the theatre, that is the magic of theatre for me.
Do you think, both of y'all, all three of y'all, in terms of the newer generation and what we've had before, that do we need to consciously now move towards scripts that allow us to perform everywhere? Because all of us aren't getting 30 days at a stretch anymore. We're all struggling for dates, which then kind of...
yes, and that's happening naturally, isn't it? That there are all kinds of performance spaces opening out. There's all kinds of people trying to do different setups in different numbers. That will be the way to go in Mumbai, as long as our government refuses to build small theatres in various parts of Mumbai. How can a city of this size have 2 theatres accessible to us? Just 2. The NCPA Experimental Theatre, the Godrej Theatre, if you want to call it that, but it's one, either or. And the Prithvi, Cuckoo Club Vagara, they are not yet established enough as theatres. So how are we all going to manage? So we will have to find different spaces, and that's inevitable.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we put unrealistic pressures on places like Prithvi and NCPA. And I also think that maybe what happens is it's not only, we're not getting space, but there's also something exciting about working in new places. Because then you tap into audiences that would not come to an NCPA.
Correct.
The kind of people who have come and seen our shows when we've done them at smaller bars and venues and things like that, these are people who will not go to NCPA. And for better or for worse, our traditional theatre spaces have cut off a lot of the city. So I think it is exciting that way
Is
for
it
us
daunting
also.
to find an audience in those kind of spaces, or you find that naturally people seem to be gravitating towards the smaller places also? Or is it hard to get an audience to come and see a play in, say, Cuckoo Club?
I think we've been fortunate, and also Cuckoo Club is what, 60 people, 70 people. It's not too many seats to fill up. So you do manage through word of mouth, through friends, and
So my question is for both of you. As a company, how do you manage the economics? Not what she asked about, basically, घर कैसे चलता है? But as a company, like you have a startup, say for example, you are the CEOs. So you start taking a salary, particular salary in a startup.
That's how they do it.
After a point.
A salary.
That's how a startup works.
Nice idea, thank you.
In a very basic manner, but but then as a theatre company, then how do you work? And in addition to that, what kind of an organizational structure do you all follow, if any?
So we usually have, when we get a certain performance fee for a show, what we do is 50% of that goes to the company. The rest of that is divided amongst everybody. Puja and I get paid the same as actors, technicians, production, the same thing. But having said that though, then if we do a project that is like a corporate gig or something that is not we're not performing the whole show as such, or it's a special kind of show that we're doing, then we do get paid as partners of the company as well. Occasionally we look around the time of Diwali, around the time of New Year's, we look at our cards, birthdays, and we're like, oh, bonus. But we don't get a regular salary from that. And that's why we've started and we've changed the structure a little bit with our workshops, because our workshops, we've started doing this thing where we will get paid from the money of the workshops, whereas the company, for its productions and running the company, that will be paid from by the shows that we do. So we've kind of made that division. Let's see how it goes.
Not a bad way to do it. We've done more or less the same
Yeah.
for all these years. And I think it's a fair and happy space to be in.
Yeah.
If you are not owners of something,
Yeah.
it takes a bit of a load off you.
Yeah.
You feel like a human being longer.
Yeah. Human being.
Hi. My major question, it can be answered by anyone or all of you. What is your take? I know the three of you are trained. What is your take on education in theatre? Not through workshops, but a long-term course that one can indulge in. That. And what is your experience with actors that are trained on the job, and actors that are not trained at all? So how important is education in theatre according to you?
Education in the sense of like at a school level to have exposure, or
No, training. Like
Specifically
you,
training,
yeah,
yeah.
like you went out
Yeah.
to study drama school.
Yeah.
You went out to NSD. So something like that.
Okay, let me go. I would say that at my time, when I went into drama school, I was told, what is the point? You already are in Mumbai. You already have access to theatre groups in Mumbai. You are already acting. Why do you have to go to drama school? Kya seekh logi wahan? And I'm glad I went. Though I did not learn much as an actor. In fact, I learned the wrong things as an actor. But the exposure to theatre and to all the various aspects of theatre that I got there, I could never have got in Mumbai. And as another friend told me, यार तुम 10 साल लगाओगी ये सीखने में, 3 साल में तुमको मिल रहा है, फायदा है तुम्हारा, चली जाओ. That made a great deal of sense to me. कि कैप्सूल में मिल जाएगा तुमको जो चाहिए, वरना सारी जिंदगी लग जाएगी. She didn't tell me at that point that in any case I will have to spend a whole bloody lifetime looking for things. So that looking for things and looking for answers for the whole of your lifetime is inevitable and pleasurable. Without it, it would have been a serious bore. So that, yes, but I find that the generation around me are getting more and more tuned out of formal training. I don't know if you find that, but a lot of kids around me, they have had such bad experiences with formal training as it exists today. These fly-by-night 2-week, 3-week, weekend bloody courses can आ जाओ तुमको हफ्ते में सिखा देंगे, overnight सिखा देंगे acting. These kind of shitty things that are happening in the name of acting training. So that has put people off, and that's not only happening in India, it's happening world over. The shit is everywhere. So people have spent large amounts of money and come back extremely unhappy and extremely frustrated. So the whole business of training has become tainted, as it were. What do you feel about it? What's your experience?
Again, for me, my training was golden. And it was just, it really, really was so important for me, and I'm so, so thankful for it. But absolutely, I know that there are people who have gone and signed up for courses and spent a lot of money, 1 month, the acting for so-and-so in somewhere in New York, somewhere, and spent obscene amounts of money and come back and not fully satisfied with that. I think though that there's something about good drama schools, irrespective of the style that they work in, that they inculcate in you a sense of rigor. And if you, and it's not only drama schools, like we work
It's
a lot
school,
with
anywhere.
Dancers. And yes, maybe a dancer might not have, some of the dancers who might not have had that kind of work in theatre might not have that kind of stage presence, but they've got that rigor and they've got that stamina that's required. And I think if training inculcates that in you.
Absolutely. The stamina.
Yeah.
Just the stamina to last it out. To, huh? But they're getting only capsules now.
But if you take a 1-month course, or you take
Yes.
a weekend course, there's
What else do you expect? I understand. But literally, if you are if you're sort of desperate in trying to find some way, somewhere, kids end up doing this. I mean, shame on those guys who set up courses like that. Shame on them.
I also feel it's important to know why you want to go for training, because I've done my master's in Mumbai University, and I was the first batch, the guinea pigs of that course, and like when I entered the course, I didn't know I was going to do theatre. I was actually going to join the World Bank before this happened, and when
in what capacity did they want you?
I was studying sociology. My bua was in World Bank. It was all set. But then I did one play in 2003, and then the Kida happened, and then everything changed tracks. But so when I did that master's, I wasn't sure if this is what I want to do. But after the 2 years, I didn't get anything in terms of skill. I didn't get anything in terms of the craft. But what I got was, yes, this is what I want to do.
Yes.
You know, and then many years later, when I went to my other school in Italy for 3 years, I went because I had two things. One is a stronger, clearer understanding of how I function as a performer, and secondly, a greater need to make my own work. I did not want to sit around as an actor, which is what I had been doing till that point. Unfortunately, work had been coming, but I didn't want to sit and wait for directors to call me and say, "Acha, ye script hai, chalo ye natak banate hain, ye karte hain." I wanted to make my own work and talk about stories I want to talk about. So therefore, I found this school, and we have very, different experiences in terms. We've spoken about this. Like I went knowing this is the school for me.
Yeah.
Like I was 100% sure, like beyond doubt, that this is where I have to be right now. You know. Sheena, on the other hand, was like, la 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 la.
I didn't get into the drama school that I really wanted. I got into it, but I didn't get any scholarship. It was too expensive. The second option I didn't get into at all, and the school that I finally went to, I got into it, and it was one that was affordable, and I got a scholarship. So I was like, all right, cool, let's do this. And 2 weeks into that course, I realized that there was nothing else for me. It was this.
Wow.
It's very exciting to hear. This is a question to all three of you. Is there ever a dumb audience?
Dumb audience.
Because in the end, whatever play that is being performed has to resonate. It's actually living in the audience. You just have to, bring it out in a sense. I mean, that's how I think of theatre.
Is there a dumb audience? No, I don't think so. No.
Nobody pays money to come and be bored, na? I mean, if they've come into a theatre, they've come to get something out of what you're doing. So sometimes you are not able to satisfy them. And then they can be irritable and bored and all that. And, but by and large, they want to be there, which is why they are there. Except, of course, kids who have, mummy ne papa ne leke aaye, uska kuch nahi. Magar baaki log to apni marzi se aate hain, na?
But then, what will you say about the TV that's happening, which you say is not really up to the mark?
But that is an audience which is a very different kind of audience from an audience that comes to the theatre. An audience that comes to the theatre comes willingly, comes into a separate space. TV is going to their homes. So whether I'm shitting and hearing something over the thing, or I'm actually sitting in front of the TV, it's a completely different audience experience.
Also, I think there's no dumb audience, there's also not enlightened performers who are giving education.
Exactly.
It's not that we have figured out everything about gender, let us share that with you. It's not that. We are sharing a curiosity with the audience. There's no, we're not on a pedestal having figured out things and moral of the story is blah, blah, blah. Nahi yaar, there is no moral of the story. Yeah. So it's both ways.
And there are enough people, I think, who watch these TV shows that might not appeal to us at all, but that needn't mean that they're intellectually, inept or anything like that. It's just, people have...
Having said that, I do feel that there is a theatre literate audience. Once in a while, in certain towns, you just find that people who come to the place that we perform are just that much more able to get into the swing of it quicker. Bangalore is one such place. You just get the sense, Bombay is of course one such place. You don't always get that. I'll tell you how I felt that very strongly was, we do Ismat Appa Ke Naam, Now, it is set in UP in a particular kind of community and class. And we have many friends of the family who belong to the same kind of class, who really know the language, who really know this environment, etc. But they are not regular theatre goers. An aunt from a village, another uncle who lives in Mussoorie, but बहुत ghazal ka, I mean, you know, शौकीन हैं बंदे. But they are not theatre people. They are not used to seeing the theatre. So when they come to see something like this, which is storytelling, they get very confused. And they cannot respond. Of course, if they come more often, they will be able to figure it out. But that first time, the whole thing is a surprise to them कि ये क्या हो रहा है? दो बंदे, सिर्फ एक बंदा बोले ही जा रहा है, कोई सामने है भी नहीं उसके, ये किससे बात कर रहे हैं? मुझसे बात कर रहे हैं? You know, all those little layers of discomfort, which a theatre literate person just takes for granted. I walk into the theatre, I plunk my bag down, and I know what I'm getting, right? But for them, it's very different. And that is such a beautiful audience, a virgin audience. If you can manage to grab them, then you are in total heaven.
Yeah. There's a question there?
Actually, I can speak without the mic.
They're recording it.
Sorry. ठीक है. तो मेरा सवाल ये था कि जैसे अभी रिसेंटली आई हैव जस्ट ग्रेजुएटेड फ्रॉम अ ड्रामा स्कूल और वहाँ पर एक ऑब्वियसली एक बेसिक सा कल्चर होता है, आप कुछ करते हो उस पर फिर बात करी जाती है करने के बाद कि क्या है, क्यों किया, कैसे किया, तो क्या चॉइसेस थी, आप सोचते हो उसके बारे में. हाउ फार कैन वी आर वी टेकिंग द कल्चर इन टर्म्स ऑफ एक्चुअली व्हेन वी आर परफॉर्मिंग? आई मीन, व्हेन वाज द लास्ट टाइम यू गाइज व्हेन यू हेल्ड अ शो you also kept a discussion around it, right after it, before it, or 2 days before or 4 days later, keeping in mind that you get the audience that saw your play, वो भी आके हमसे बात करे इस बारे में. क्योंकि बहुत बार क्या होता है ना कि जब मैं किसी को जानता हूँ जो परफॉर्म कर रहा है तो आसान होता है पीछे ग्रीन रूम में जाके या बाद में 4 दिन उनसे बात कर ली तो पता चला नाटक का क्या था, मुझे क्या लगा. When I don't know the person, I don't know how they will react, और क्या मैं उनकी स्पेस में घुस भी सकता हूँ, क्या मैं उनसे कुछ बोल भी सकता हूँ, क्या नहीं बोल सकता हूँ. तो एक क्लियरली अगर एक हम स्टेट कर दें कि अभी हमने नाटक किया तो अब हम बात करेंगे सब मिलके, और फिर उसमें ऑनेस्टी की कितनी जगह है कि तारीफ करना कितना ज़रूरी है और उसके बाद अपना पॉइंट रखना
बिल्कुल ज़रूरी नहीं है, और जो तारीफ कर रहा है बंदा उसको फ़ौरन निकाल देना चाहिए.
क्योंकि यूजुअली हर नाटक के बाद, बहुत नाटक के बाद मैंने बॉम्बे में देखा है कि खड़े होकर ताली बजाई जाती हैं. मेरे लिए बचपन में खड़े होकर ताली बजाना बहुत बड़ी बात होती थी, तो मैं उस स्पेस से आया था, तो मुझे लगा कि अब शायद ये यहाँ का नॉर्मल है.
2 घंटा बैठ करके थक भी जाते हैं ना कि चलो आए अभी, चलो बहुत अच्छे, अच्छा थैंक यू वेरी मच, अभी तो जाने दो हमको, ये भी थोड़ा बहुत मूड होता है.
Fair enough.
वो भी है, लेकिन that's a interesting point. बोलो, do you feel like talking to your audience? Do you feel like connecting with them in that kind of one-to-way thing?
Yes, and I think that this like maybe a Q&A or something is something that's very important. But for me personally, aesthetically also as a director, if a show finishes, I don't want that, acha, house lights on, chalo bring out the chairs, everybody sits, we sit, audience sit, like that. I feel that when something ends and it ends on that, let's leave it at that. But I think that's why I think things like this are so wonderful, where we have spaces like Mumbai Local, where we can come and talk about our work and question our work. And you're absolutely right, I think it's very important. Maybe not dumb audiences, but I think that there are a lot of, not dumb, but I think there are a lot of, what's the right word, complacent creators, is that the right thing? People who aren't pushed enough. I feel it myself.
Yes.
I feel it myself. That
complacency
we're not,
beyond belief.
We're not, and the people who are there to push us are our audiences.
Yes,
so
because we have no critics.
We have
Do you
no
know
critics.
that there is no system of
Absolutely.
criticism in India? Criticism is only taken to be negative. आप criticism मत कीजिए. अरे criticism का मतलब है analysis, विचार करना, नुक्स नहीं निकालना. लेकिन हम लोग पहले से ही इंसल्ट होकर बैठ जाते हैं कि हमारी तो क्रिटिसिज्म करेंगे. तो देयर आर नो क्रिटिक्स at all. Nobody reviews plays. For the last 25 years, nobody in Bombay has reviewed plays. इक्का दुक्का कोई लिख लेता है थोड़ा बहुत. मराठी गुजराती में अभी भी होते हैं, लेकिन हिंदी अंग्रेजी में मैंने नहीं पढ़ा. So yes, and there are certain occasions when this is possible and easy. There are certain occasions where this is definitely not required. as she said, sometimes there is an emotional high which occurs at the end of a play. People should go away with it. Like in the West, they have special spaces when people can come together again and talk. That makes more sense. But then they are a much more organized system. We are making our stories up as we are going along. We are making the systems also as we are going along. So ये अभी possible इतनी आसानी से नहीं हुआ है, except in a Mumbai local kind of thing. लेकिन जहाँ जहाँ ज़रूरत है, गुवाहाटी, वहाँ बातें करने के लिए तैयार थे लोग. And there's a
And they do it the next morning.
Next morning.
Yes. Even Lucknow they do it the next morning.
That makes a lot of sense. कि अगर आप सचमुच दिलचस्पी रखते हैं, तो थोड़ी सी आप भी मेहनत कीजिए. दोबारा ये बात करने के लिए, है ना? And Kankauli is another lovely little experience that I would like to share. It's a small town on the border between Maharashtra and Goa. It's the last town in Maharashtra before you cross over to Sawantwadi and Goa. So Kankauli is this place where they have an annual festival, and through the year they keep doing plays. Through the year, mainly Marathi plays get done there, but in the festival they call in plays from all over. So which is terrifically exciting. They all come at 9:30, 10. खाना खा के नाटक शुरू होता है. तो अगर सपोज 10:30 तक नाटक शुरू हुआ, तो 12:30 को आमतौर पे नाटक खत्म होता है. 12:30 के बाद वो लोग सब बैठ करके बातें करने को तैयार हैं 2 बजे तक, आराम से. अगर और खींचना चाहे तो और भी बैठने को तैयार है वो. It's such an excited, involved audience. I mean, काश सब audiences ऐसी होती, मगर हम भी थक जाते फिर बहुत ज़्यादा. डबल ड्यूटी, एक तो नाटक भी करो, फिर ऊपर आकर के उसको समझाओ भी.
Hi. So I wanted to ask you about when we were talking about writers, and you said that you have a certain idea and that clicks and you build from there. So do you think that there is a space in Bombay, at least for writers? And what are your creative instincts? Like where do you draw from?
I think there's definitely a space for writers, and like how you were saying, there's a need. So I don't quite get what you're saying. Why the question?
Because when you started off by saying that a lot of the Indian plays, either they end up as translations or adaptations, and so when you are devising, it becomes like you take a concept to or something from mythology that clicks, maybe just to know what kind of work. Then and then if you do feel that there is that space for writers, what are the kind of writing that you find good come across?
I feel we're also writing with the devising process. Like it's a different kind of writing. It's not a writer sitting and thinking and doing it. It's all of us as co-collaborators on the floor, figuring it out together. But it is writing. It is that. I'm still not answering your question. I know this is what came to me.
Do you think of audiences when you're writing, or then it's just you and your?
No, it's not. We don't know what will come up. Right. So we can't predict if this will be liked or not liked. It's really once you hit the floor, that thing takes its own life, and you have to keep up with it. So. Yeah, you go with the flow, and if you're a writer, please write.
And there are these spaces like Writer's Block, and there are people who do workshops for writers and things. But I don't see much coming out of it eventually. You do a production, you do 5 productions, you do it in one go, and then that's the end of it. So that sense of feeding into a system and keeping the whole growth going, that's still not happening. And there is very little space for reflection, I find. Even people who do a production, uske baad some kind of assessment is required, no? Somebody to talk, and somebody from the outside to tell you what's getting across, what is not getting across. How do you bring in that kind of collaboration we haven't found the mechanisms yet.
I think writing is also a tricky one because across the board, all of our mediums, be it TV, be it cinema, I don't think that there's very much so exciting writing that just like grips you. In the medium of film and television, there's technically we are making advances, and with music, yes, but I feel once, and this is my personal opinion, I feel that it's very rare that you come across something in any of the fields that we're working where you're like, wow, that was a really tight script. And I wonder why that is.
We don't like tight scripts, yaar. We tell a story over 9 nights. तुम क्या 10 मिनट में पूरी कहानी सुनाते हो? और 3000 साल से सेम कहानी सुन रहे हैं कि नहीं हम लोग? रामायण, महाभारत, पुराण सुन रहे हैं ना हम लोग? आज तक बोर हुआ है कोई? नहीं ना? तो अभी क्यों इतनी मेहनत करें?
Yeah, when you say this, it goes a lot in conjunction with, you know, like the demographic, because every time you're asked, you're asked that, okay, what's your audience? And then it always goes to a majority that you're writing for, and then you're made to write for a person, like people who subscribe to a particular mythology, you know. So it's very tightly tied to those metrics.
Made to by whom? Who makes you write like that? I mean, is that the writer's own need to fit in, or is it somebody who is from the outside who's... Because I don't understand this. If you're a writer in a company and you're a copywriter, somebody can tell you, okay, write something on a tube of toothpaste. But otherwise, as a playwright, nobody tells you what to write on, right? That needs to come from you, and that exploration is the writer's own exploration. Others can join in, but the exploration is the writer's.
I think we can take a couple more questions if you have any.
When you talk about collaboration as a group, how often do you involve writers? Recently, I remember watching a device piece, Elephant in the Room, and the actor said that she felt that the concept of rhythm, tone that you spoke about as directors and actors may have its own version on paper. So, do you feel that there is a gap in terms of having a writer understanding things on paper as a blueprint, which may in principle be very different from the way a director looks at rhythm, tone, or do you think they all intersect?
We've had writers in on a lot of the on the process of Gentlemen's Club and ELA, various people had helped us at different points of time, Fly By Night as well. So yeah, we have collaborated with writers as well. Writers also, but then they come on board as part of the devising team. They are not, it's not that there is a script that is sent to us beforehand that we work it. A lot of the times it's also us who have approached the writer to say that this is our idea that we're interested in exploring, and they've come on board on that basis, as opposed to them saying this is a script that we have ready, shall we work on that? So yeah, device theatre doesn't mean that we're like, hi, we don't want a script, get it away from us, we don't want to see it. That's
Shakespeare
not what
kabhi nahi karungi, main khud Shakespeare nahi karungi.
It's not that. They have been part of the process, yes. In Elephant in the Room, I think Yuki and Sneh worked in tandem right from the beginning to see the whole show, as we did with Vikram for Gentlemen's Club. But the magic of something like, I can't speak for Elephant in the Room, but Gentlemen's Club is when you watch it, and even with ELA, is that even for me who was part of all of that, I can't say that, oh yeah, that was Shruti Vyas's idea.
Yeah.
Oh no, that was
Lovely.
Rachel D'Souza's idea. You can't say that because it's all just merges
A good khichdi.
Yeah.
Abhi bas. Now, last.
Do you, this might be asked to you a lot of times, I think, but do you think there's a responsibility upon you as an actor? Any kind of responsibility?
To act well.
Well,
My
even that,
responsibility is to act well as I can. And therefore the choices I make of the material I work with, as well as what I do when I am acting, all those choices are what are in, that's all that I have in my hands. And so therefore that is my responsibility to choose wisely at that point. तुम्हारी अपनी responsibility, तुम लोग बोलो?
Bills, bills.
She is paying bills. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah.
She has no
I think
responsibility.
theatre should have
Flighty
critics.
things.
That's my opinion.
So-
You should have serious critics.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah,
there should
you
be.
should. And you have to make an effort to get the critics.
How and why?
You know, identify theatre people who are not into theatre anymore, but have the ability to articulate on the subject.
Please give me one such name and I will contact them.
Uh,
See, this is the problem, you know. I mean, criticism is not something that you can thopo on another person. Like
No,
playwriting is
because-
not something that you can thopo, or acting is something that you can't thopo. Basically, it is something that has to emerge out of a felt need. A person who's watching feels, "Ke, I need to speak about this. This is what I need to say." And therefore, criticism
Exactly.
emerges out of that.
But has to be somebody who understands theatre, otherwise there's no point.
Sure, or has
know?
to make an effort to understand if they don't understand.
Exactly.
There are several people who do write and do write with intelligence and with rigor, because they see several plays of the same company and talk about it. That's what it is.
But are they always invited for plays?
No,
No, they are not.
no. Sometimes they are.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Otherwise they
Some of them
We've
come and
never
ask for a
made
free
the-
ticket,
we've
but
never
apart
made
from
the effort to actually reach out to critics. But it's not that.
yeah, it's not.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
But I personally have to keep asking friends, have you seen this play? You know, before I go for it. Because you don't have organized critics, you know, in this field.
Okay.
So I'm going to now close this session because I think we've tired all of you out enough. But thank you so very much for a fantastic, fantastic Mumbai Local.